I'm wondering if we can begin our conversation whether you've seen Mayor Whaley, the latest Trump from the latest tweet rather from your president. I'm going to pull it up for our viewers, referencing specifically the Dayton, Ohio shooter who, as he says, had a history of supporting political figures like Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and Antifa. I'm wondering your reaction to that and how it sets up his visit today.
Well, for us in Dayton, it's not really about what people think. It's more about what they have to kill people. And so, you know, the whole part of the discussion in Dayton and where people are in this city is one of grief over how this has really wreaked havoc and, you know, really ravaged our community, but also one of inaction around gun policy. You know, we were the 250th city in the country to have a mass shooting, way more than any country in the world. And, you know, it doesn't have to be this way, you know, and so, you know, we really, as a community, want action around gun policy. Our governor, who's a Republican, has introduced 17 points that he's moving forward in the state house. Congressman Turner, who's also a Republican here, has called for a ban on assault-like weapons. And, you know, this president, who claims to be all about action, has really been just all about talk on this issue. And we hope today that he comes to Dayton, hears the pleas of our community, and starts taking action on some common sense gun legislation.
And let's look to today. I guess I was just wondering, he's made it so overtly political in that tweet just a few minutes ago. Again, not exactly the tone of comfort or of unity that you might expect to hear before he arrives in your community. What kind of reaction do you think he's going to get today?
Well, I think, you know, Dayton and Montgomery County is one of those counties that are evenly split. So there will be a diverse range of conversations. And, you know, one of the unfortunate things about politics in America today is just how extreme it's become and how hard it is to get people to work together. One of the things we've seen since Sunday, at least in Ohio politics and in the folks in Ohio, is a real interest in getting something done and working together. And so for us on gun policy, when 90% of Ohioans support universal background check, when the majority of Americans say it's time to have common sense gun legislation, you know, we want to be one of the last cities that this happens to. And the president can do that. And we want him to do something, as they chanted to Governor DeWine Sunday night at the vigil.
Yes, we heard them do something, and he did yesterday. We carried that news conference live, as a matter of fact, as he announced the points of action. You have said you're not going to discourage protest. Do you anticipate seeing that?
Oh, look, Dayton is a place that likes to speak their mind, so I wouldn't be surprised if we have protests on both sides here.
Right.
That's their First Amendment right. And, you know, for me, it's really about the victims and their families, and so we want to protect their grief process. And unfortunately, the politics and the rhetoric from the president make that very difficult, because people have just such a aggressive response to him, both positive and negative.
You have said previously in these past couple of days about his comments thus far, how they've been unhelpful, that he hasn't confronted the issue of gun violence sufficiently for you. In your time with him today, what are you going to say specifically, and what are you going to urge?
You know, my job as mayor is to bring our community together, to help people grieve and help us work through this process. His job as president is to recognize that this is an epidemic in our country and that he has the power to get something done. And that's what I'm going to urge him to do. There's a whole host of ways he can do that. He can support the red flag law that Lindsey Graham and Blumenthal have in the Senate. He can say, I want to move forward on an assault weapon ban, which the majority of the American public supports. He could decide to put together action-oriented efforts on guns. But what we're not interested in is some talk about video games or mental health and a bunch of blah, blah, blah. We want action around gun violence.
And in terms of the community itself, when you say the we, is that really the sense that you're hearing from people? I'm wondering, the rhetoric you mentioned, the fact that he hasn't addressed the gun violence to the degree you want, even the reference to Toledo as opposed to Dayton, what kind of effect has all of this had on the people of your community?
Well, Dayton is a resilient, gritty community. And really what I've noticed is Dayton is really focused on people that take action. And Heather, Sunday night at the vigil, this was a time where thousands of people came to the streets of the Oregon District where the terrible, deadly shooting occurred. And organically came forward chanting, "Do something." That's what the people of Dayton want. That's what they demand from their government. And frankly, that's what they deserve.
Mayor Nan Whaley, a pleasure to speak with you this morning. We'll be having extensive coverage of what happens in just a short couple of hours. So thank you for speaking to us ahead of the president's visit. I appreciate it. Thinking of your community.
Thank you, Heather.